अखण्डमण्डलाकारम् व्याप्तं येन चराचरम् तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरुवे नमः। A prayer is such a wonderful tool to connect to the heart and get it to a space where the mind is transcended and answers begin to emerge from the space of knowing. So let me try to address this question about karma. It's a very important question. Now, karma is something about cause and effect. Whatever we do by way of thoughts, words, and speech, at a vibrational level, it is stored within us. And it creates a kind of karmic connection with the person, thing, or situation. And that connection is going to come back to us with its own results. Those results can be good. The way we look at these, or those results can be bad or terrible, the way we understand them to be. But one thing we must learn is that karma is person neutral. God is not retributive. Karma is not retributive. Of course, a karma which is not good or not correct, which is not in alignment with natural law, is going to bring some consequence that may be painful, that may be challenging. But really, if we understand karma, then we must understand that the consequence is about a lesson that we must learn. If we learn the lesson, we are free from the effect of the karma. Because when we learn the lesson, the sting or the suffering is taken out of the consequence of karma. There was a prophet-like personality named Edgar Casey. He is very famous. You can Google the name and you will read a lot of material about him. He was especially gifted. And at the drop of a hat, he could go into a trance. And if any questions had been posed before him, he would speak and give answers to those questions. The beauty was that he would not remember those answers. So somebody had to sit down and take notes, because in those days, recording devices were not in frequent use. But his readings were amazing. Previously, he started giving readings to people for their medical challenges. And some amazing diagnosis and remedial measures came out. For example, some boy who was sick and the doctors had given him very little time to survive. When his mother consulted Edgar Casey went into trance and said he should be given the juice of belladonna leaves. Belladonna is poison. And the doctors were dead against administering of belladonna juice to this boy. But the mother said, look, he's going to die anyway. You are saying that he's not going to live. So why not give him the belladonna juice? And miraculously this boy was healed. So there were several stories like this, and then people began to come to him for reading about their life situations. He did thousands of readings. And on the basis of his readings, books were published about the law of karma, how karma operates. There is a very famous book called Many Mansions by Jina Sarminara. And this book, if it is available, it's a wonderful read. And everything based on readings given by Edgar Casey. Now, there was a person who was born with lot of physical deformities. And he had these deformities since childhood. His life was an endless saga of misery and pain. And when he met Edgar Casey and Edgar Casey did a reading for him, Edgar Casey said that, look, you were a courtier in the court of Nero, the ruthlessly savage king. And Nero used to love to release hungry lions on hapless people. And for him it was just a sport, and the lions would devour those people, break their bones. And as his courtier, you always used to clap and feel very excited when such a thing would unfold in the arena. So that is why you have been given this body with so many deformities. Because you must understand the pain and misery of a person whose limbs are not aligned properly or they are being broken. So this is how karma operates. It is just a brief insight into karma. So whatever good we do, they come back to us in the form of whatever good we have got in this life. And whatever is not so good, when it fructifies, it also comes back to us in the form of the challenges we have in life. There is this famous story from the Mahabharata, it seems, that the blind king Dhritarashtra, who was the head of the clan of Kauravas, in the battle of Mahabharata, he lost all his 100 sons. It was a very traumatic and painful experience. And it is said that he asked Lord Krishna, why did it have to happen to me? Losing a few sons here and there when you have 100 seems quite natural. But why did I have to lose 100 sons, all the sons? And the answer which Lord Krishna seems to have given to him was that he was a bird hunter in some lifetime, more than 100 lifetimes ago. And he threw a burning net over a tree where many birds had their nests. And small baby birds who did not know how to fly were resting in those nets. The tree caught fire and 100 baby birds were burnt alive. Afterwards, the Lord said that in each lifetime you performed meritorious acts to deserve the reward of one son. So after 100 lifetimes, when this karma fructified, you had 100 sons at one go. But by that time, the karma of burning away those baby birds also fructified. So in this lifetime itself, you had to lose all your sons. So karma is infallible. It is operating all the time. And as and when it fructifies, it brings its result. Because we do not remember what we have done, so it is natural for us to take credit for whatever good has come to us in our lives. We think that we deserve this. And we take pride in whatever good we have. And because we do not know the karma or the other kind of karma, so when something which we do not want happens, then we come up with questions, why me? Why is God so unkind? Why do I have to suffer? The fact remains that everything is here to give us an opportunity to contemplate and see what is the lesson in this for me. So when good for karma fructifies and everything is going good, if we become full of pride, if we become arrogant, if we start insulting those who are perhaps less fortunate, then a time will come when we will lose everything good that we have. And if something which is not to our liking is happening and we start blaming God, we start fighting, some relationship is not working and we become full of hate and misery, and we start taking it out on the other person, then we are asking for further entanglement. Because we are inviting further such situations. through our reactions. So in management jargon, there is a lot of thing which is said about response in place of reactions. So first thing is that we must learn to respond and understand that if something is happening which is not to our liking, what is the lesson in this for us? So if we learn the lesson, we can move on. Even if the effect of the karma may continue for some time, but the suffering will not be there. Now where does healing come in it? Can karma be healed? Certainly. Can it be reversed or avoided completely? Certainly. But this has to be understood. Healing of karma means that if there is a relationship trap, if something not to our liking has happened and we get into the cycle of reaction, then we are inviting the same situation again and again, because existence knows that we have not yet started learning. So unless we learned the lesson, for as long as we have not learned, the situation will keep repeating itself again and again and again. So are we learning? That is why in the practices we do, we say that any body system, any body part, any of your relationships, if anything is not working all right, first thing you do is to acknowledge your own role. The understanding that I must have done something because of which this situation has arisen. That's the first step. And when this understanding has come, that means that we may have taken things for granted. We may not have done what was necessary. We have not been in an attitude of nurturing. So if we have failed somewhere in our approach, maybe in this lifetime, maybe in an earlier lifetime, because of which a difficult relationship has arisen, or a difficult challenge in the body has arisen, then first thing is that when we take responsibility, we say, I am sorry. Please forgive me. I failed. There is no shame in accepting that I failed. I did not do what was right. And this has to be from the heart. And the other thing is that every relationship, every situation, every person involved, everybody, everything has served us in some way or the other. Even those people who are difficult, when they come before us and they teach us some bitter lessons, we grow wiser. So they are our teachers. So once we recognize how a situation or a person or a limb has helped us, then we say, I love you. Thank you. So when we do this at the level of the heart, then the karmic entanglement that we have, it begins to lose its strength. And that is why, another reason, that is why we do forgiveness practice. So what are we doing in forgiveness practice? There may be a few persons, a few situations about which you are sure you have this memory of this lifetime. And you know that this is where things did not go right. I have been harsh to this person, or this person has been very difficult for me. And you can do forgiveness. But Forgiveness is not easy. If you really start doing forgiveness with person to person, in a one-to-one scenario, sometimes an attempt at forgiveness, either seeking forgiveness or offering forgiveness, can become ugly. It can freshen up old wounds and bring up a lot of undesirable stuff which can make things difficult. That is why in the forgiveness practice that we do it on a soul-to-soul basis. And why do we do that? Because whether we understand this or not, a soul-to-soul communication is always heard and taken in the right spirit. So when you invite those souls whom you might have harmed or hurt or taken advantage of in some lifetime, this lifetime or any other, and just tell them honestly, I am sorry. Please forgive me. These are not empty words. The power of your intention is going to touch those souls in a very positive manner. And even the most difficult relationships, where the hurt or harm which has been caused is very grave and forgiveness is not easy, even in those cases, forgiveness will begin to flow towards you. The question is, are we ready to do it? Or when we do it, are we just saying by way of words? Or we are saying it through the heart? In the same way, we may seek forgiveness from others, but when it comes to forgiving those who have hurt us or harmed us, we realize it's not easy. There are deep-rooted instances of resentment, anger, having been slighted. All these we have carefully nurtured and kept in the inner recesses of our hearts. And when it comes to forgiving the other person, it is not easy. But if we want to get out of the clutches of karma, and we want to have our freedom here and now, then this part of the forgiveness is a must. Because as long as we are carrying these karmic entanglements, where some souls are carrying some hurt against us, and we are carrying some hurt which is unresolved against other souls, we will keep taking birth again and again and again. So, it's a matter of choice. Existence is very compassionate. For those people who cannot forget and forgive, and who cannot seek forgiveness, who cannot say sorry, the option is there. They can continue to be born and die lifetime after lifetime and resolve their karma by going through all the physical happenings in life on this plane of existence. But those who want to be free, for them the choice is there. Just by doing forgiveness, they can release karma. Now when it comes to karma, then some of the karma which has really fructified, matured, it is like a heat-seeking guided missile. The missile has been fired and it has sensed the heat coming from the exhaust of the fighter plane, and it is after the fighter plane. The fighter plane can make whatever maneuver it wants, but the missile will follow it and hit it for sure. So such karmas cannot be avoided. But I will come to those karmas a little later. But there are some karmas which are in the pipeline. They are yet to mature. So when we do the forgiveness practice very sincerely, when we practice meditation, we take sound healing. Through all this, what we are doing is that we are upgrading our awareness. We are rising in awareness. So as we rise in awareness, we rise above our limitations. We are beginning to give away some of the bad vibes or some of the traps in which we have been for so many lifetimes. So when we have risen in awareness, the life lessons have been learnt already. So those karmas which were supposed to give us certain life lessons, and these lessons we have already learned, those karmas are neutralized. They are not going to hit you at all. You are totally free. That is why it is important. The questioner said that about day-to-day karmas being done, carried out in day-to-day life. So if we live in an attitude of forgiveness, even if we commit a mistake here and there, we are out of sync, that karma doesn't build because we are in an attitude of forgiveness. And being in an attitude of forgiveness is not easy. It means that we are learning every moment. So we become more conscious of what we say, what we do, and what we think. I worked in a department which is a fault-finding department. So by training and upbringing, we are made to look only at faults. And if you do this kind of work for a few decades, you become very negative. So a negative mindset means that you are not looking at anything good. You first try and figure out what is not so good here. And let me condemn this. Let me bring it out. But that creates a lot of binding karma. One of my relatives was a jailer. He identified so much with his job that even his house was a jail. His wife, his children were prisoners in that jail. So this is how what we think and what we identify with is going to color our life. So we have to be cautious. Being in an attitude of forgiveness means taking responsibility for every thought, every word, and every action. And if we do that, we begin to operate from a higher awareness, and the karma will stop getting created. So through the forgiveness and through healing, through meditation, through sound healing, we can get rid of all the karma which has not fructified. But this is a choice that we have to rise in awareness. We have to serve other people. When we rise in awareness, then existence casts a responsibility on us that we go and serve. And that brings about a complete transformation. But let me now handle this question of karmas which have fructified. The heat-seeking missile has been fired and it's going to hit, or it has already hit. The effects of that are unfolding in our lives. What can we do about it? So let me tell you a story. And this is something what Mr. Solita Variaji, who was one of the greatest masters I had the good fortune of meeting in this life, he narrated. One of his close relatives once asked him, you are a master, masters like you, how do they help people with their karma? And Soli Bhai had this answer. This is what he shared with me. He said, look, I told this man that suppose we have gone out for a picnic. We had a nice lunch, you had your own 2 cans of beer which you like, you are in high spirits, and we are walking. Suddenly you come across a tree and you feel like climbing it. I know that when you will climb, you are going to have a fall. And it will have consequences. So he said, look, if you are going to fall down, and I know that you will have a bad sprain and you will be limping for the next 3 days, I will tell you that don't climb, it's not good. But if you are still wanting to climb, I will allow you to climb. No, I will hold your hand and I will not permit you to climb. Period. He said there is a second scenario that I see that you will climb and fall and you will have a compound fracture. An iron rod will have to be inserted. Next 3 months will be very difficult. Then there will come physiotherapy, which will be very painful. You have to go through all this. Then I will tell you that please don't climb. It's not good for you. But if you really want to climb and you are not listening to me, I will not hold your hands. I just allow you to climb. And then he said, there is a third scenario that I see that you will climb and you will fall down and you will injure your spine. As a result of which you will be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of your life. I will not say anything. I will let it happen. And this relative was really angry. He said, what is this? Is this the kind of help that you are going to render? And Solivai said, look, the more serious the damage, it means that some very grave karma has fructified. Now it has come to the time when it is going to unfold. Now it is true that I have the option of holding you by the hand, not allowing you to climb, even when I know that you are going to fall down and you will injure your spine and you will be wheelchair bound for the rest of your life. But even if I do that, that will not save you from the consequences of that karma. It is a scenario when the heat-seeking missile has been fired. Then no maneuvering is going to help. So if it does not happen to you now, it will happen to you later, it will happen to you in the next life. But it is going to happen. So when it has to happen, it is good that it happens before me. Because even if you will be paralyzed in the spine, paralyzed through life because of the injury to the spine, I am there. I will give you the energy. I will raise your frequency and vibration to an extent that you will not suffer. You will become paralyzed in the body, but you will not be paralyzed in the mind. You will not be suffering. Being paralyzed in the body is not such a bad thing, but suffering because of that paralysis is really bad. So I will make sure that you suffer the consequence or you go through the consequence of that karma, and yet you remain unaffected. So it was a very revealing story which Sulibhai told me. So those things which have really fructified and they are unfolding right now, we cannot escape them. But by upgrading our awareness through forgiveness, through sound healing, through meditation, if we rise in awareness, we can escape the suffering that it is going to cause. So this is a kind of a brief overview on karma. With those karmas which have not yet fructified, they are in the pipeline, we can completely escape them by remaining in an attitude of forgiveness and by upgrading our awareness. But those karma which have fructified or which are going to fructify immediately, we can escape suffering by one, looking at the lesson that the unfolding karma has for us. If we have learnt the lesson, then we can escape the suffering. Like some people who attended these sound healing intensives. I have a friend, a senior. She attended some 2-3 intensives in a row, and she was not sharing. She was not that kind of person who would just come back and share everything. So one day I asked her that, Madam, you have been attending. What is your experience? So she said, look, I have realized that I cannot let go of the pain. The challenge I had, she had met with an accident, there was an issue. The joints were giving her real trouble. So I realized, but when you start sound healing, I sit in absolute peace, enveloped by a cocoon of light. It was a great teaching for me also. Because when people like her or anybody who is a participant, they come and share these things, it is so satisfying. There is another lady who had met with an accident and she keeps falling. So she had a lot of pain and she attended several of these sessions, and she also shared that through sound healing what has happened is that the intensity of pain that I have been experiencing, that has reduced. And then she said that, I have started walking, started making an attempt to walk. And my daughter always laughs when I try to walk, and she said, oh, I can see a penguin there because I am not steady on my feet. But the suffering has gone, if not completely, to a good extent. So this is what we can do. And very important thing is to have this attitude of forgiveness. There is just one more thing which I did not share in the morning, but it is coming to me very strongly at this moment. Is that there is a lot of karma that we create because we don't like something. It may be a situation, it may be a person, it may be a religion, it may be some belief system. Now there is a spiritual guidebook with the title Light on the Path. And it has given certain rules for discipleship. And in one of the rules, the master says that you are no different from the evil man or the ignorant man. The difference, if any, is of degrees. So the moment you strongly feel that you are separate from the evil man or the ignorant man, that idea of separateness itself creates karma. And you become inextricably bound to that person or situation. And this will continue to repeat in your life till you learn the lesson of love and acceptance. And the master speaks in a very flowery language. He says, the soiled garment you shrink away from in horror may have been yours yesterday, could be yours tomorrow. And then it will cling all the more closely to your body. So anything with which we have a strong dislike, and there is a strong sense of separateness, it may be possible that in our next lifetime we may be born as that person, or we may experience that situation again. And it will continue to repeat life after life till we learn the lesson of love. And this is why, along with forgiveness, we place great emphasis on love. So even those whom you don't like or who have really harmed you, just give them your love and blessings. The karma with them will dissolve, and you will find it much easier to let go of your resentment, your anger, your sense of revenge. So it has taken a lot of time, but I thought it was worth it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. You can just unmute yourself and ask. Or if you want to see the recording later and come up with a question, you are most welcome. Because healing has to happen at the personal level. And personal healing requires personal effort. So there are certain things which you have to learn, or we have to learn and practice. It is not easy. When I started doing forgiveness practice, I realized that there was some deep-rooted resentment I had against some family members. It took a lot of time to work upon that. And the most difficult part was to recognize my own role in all that. Because we find it very easy to put the blame at others' doorsteps for everything. So that is the hard part of the work. But if we are serious and if we really want to make this lifetime the last lifetime, or if we seriously want to reduce the number of lifetimes that we would take to reach the goal, then this is the way. Understanding karma and knowing what is possible within our power to do to resolve karma. So forgiveness, love, and upgradation of understanding. These are the only things that can help us on the path. So much for now.
May I ask a question, sir?
Yes, Vatslaji, please go ahead.
Sir, thanks for the sessions that we have. some very strange questions have been troubling me. That is, I find people who are selfish, uh, they don't face the consequences. They turn their back on somebody wanting help. They don't. They are neither troubled by conscience, and they seem to lead a good life. Whereas people who are selfless, who do something, I think things are standing on their head. I'm really conflicted about whether doing good at all is necessary. I think those who are cold and indifferent
See,
are
I will just, can I have understood your question? Can I answer that?
yes, sir.
It is like this, Vatslaji, that doing good, when we think of doing good, that means that there is some element of ego to that statement. Because what is good, we don't know. There are certain things which are in consonance with the natural law, and we should effortlessly flow there. So that is fine. Be yourself. And who are you? We have been students in spirituality, we know that we are just consciousness, bliss combined. So when there is consciousness and bliss, you act according to that consciousness and bliss. Whatever you do, no karma will arise if you are in that state of awareness. So if you feel like helping somebody at a given point of time, you help that. If you don't help, that is also fine. Now coming to those people who are insensitive or who are deliberately very selfish, you see, they have not evolved sufficiently. So we may think that we are seeing ourselves only in this life. But if all our past lives were to be revealed, each one of us will find that we have done something which are very heinous, very bad. But we have been fortunate in the sense that we have learned from those mistakes. So we have evolved. Now those persons who we find that they are not able to do things and they're just not doing things right, not taking care of people, they are always trying to hold for themselves. These are people who have not really evolved, so they have to learn those lessons. So whatever they are doing, existence will teach them lessons, and when they grow, they will be like Vatsala Subramani. But they have to grow, so that is the work they have to do. And so everybody is evolving. It's a kind of a ladder. Somebody is on the ground floor, the first rung of the ladder, and somebody has reached the top. But everybody is in the same ladder, so they will grow. So let us not, worry about others, because they will have to take responsibility for their actions, what they are doing or what they are not doing. And we should not judge them also, because by judging them, we are creating karma with them. So they will keep repeating in our lives. And they will keep adding to our anxiety. Why am I coming across these fellows? They are not helping anybody. So we just don't look at them. In Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, there are 4 pieces of advice for people of the world. And there are 4 words which encapsulate everything. It says Maitri, Karuna, Mudita and Upeksha. And Patanjali explains that. What is that? You should cultivate Maitri, friendliness, towards people who are happy for any reason. Somebody has, the son has topped the university, somebody has got a great job, somebody is married very happily. So feel happy, cultivate friendliness for people who are happy. Then people who are in grief. So he says karuna, compassion. So compassion means taking care of them to the extent we can. Compassion does not mean taking pity. Somebody is in grief, so if we take pity, that means we are identifying with that person's grief. So when we start identifying with other people's grief, then we are in grief. Some of that grief is going to seep into us. So we will need help. We will not be able to help others. So that is why there are some people who are only focusing on the grief. You look around yourself, you will identify them. So when people are only looking at other people's grief, then after some time they themselves become sick, they themselves become very unhappy. Because they are identifying with grief, they do not have that compassion. Compassion means not identifying with the grief. You maintain your own joy, but you try and do whatever you can reasonably in the given moment for that, helping that person. That is compassion. The third point is very interesting. He says mudita. Mudita means taking joy, rejoicing. So rejoicing for what? He said rejoice in the noble fellows. So there are people around with great nobility. What work they are doing. So instead of looking at those who are not serving others, we can just look at those who are serving others and rejoice in them. You meet somebody who is a great scholar, rejoice in his scholarly qualities. If somebody is a great social worker, rejoice there. So when we rejoice in the nobility of people, what we are doing is that we are attracting those qualities. When we were students, there was some teacher, we fall in love with the teacher. We like the teacher so much, we admire the teacher, and what happens? We automatically start doing well in the subject of that teacher. So whatever the knowledge is there with the teacher, it automatically gets transferred. So mudita, rejoicing in something that is noble. And the fourth advice that Patanjali gives, upeksha, ignoring. So he says, ignore those people who are wicked. Because if the moment you focus on them, they will sap all your good energies. You are vibrating high. And these fellows are vibrating at a low stage. So if you come into contact with them, if you meditate upon them or think of them, your energy will go to them. And you will be depleted. This is a very practical advice. So there are people who come up with this idea that no, we should serve the society, we should do this. But fact of the matter is that you do it when you have reached that state where nothing will take away your energy. So if you reach that state, yes, go out and serve wherever. But if it is not there, then conserve your energy and come in contact with those people who will not be energy guzzlers, who will not take away your energy. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense, sir. Makes a lot of sense. The penny has dropped.
So it is like this. Anybody else? Thank you. It was a very, very interesting question. A good question.
Thank you, sir. It's been troubling me also.
Any other question? If not, we have already, it's 10 past 10. Okay. So we'll just meditate for 5 minutes. And I will give all of you an extra session for not having given you sound healing today. So just take a comfortable posture. Mentally become aware of how the body is holding and supporting itself. Close your eyes. Have the feeling that an invisible string is pulling at the top of your head, stretching your spine towards the ceiling, and you are getting taller. And as the spine gets stretched, ever so gently, become aware of how your shoulders are rolling back a little and your chest is opening. Now just begin to become aware of your breath. Let the breath move in and out on its own. There is no pressure being applied, no effort at controlling the breath. It is as if the breath is happening on its own, and you are simply watching it. Become aware of your chest rising and falling. Become aware of the abdomen moving ever slightly forward a little and then backwards. Feel the effect of breath in the lowermost area of the abdomen. Become aware how the rib cage expands on all sides when the breath comes in, and how the rib cage collapses when the breath moves out. Watch the trajectory of the breath and follow the breath to the center of your chest. Try and locate the point where the incoming breath dissolves into nothingness, and from where the outgoing breath starts after a small gap. Find this point and the gap between the incoming breath and the outgoing breath. There is absolutely no movement there. It is a point of pure awareness. If you are able to locate this point, you can visualize a flame there. The flame stands steady and motionless. It does not flicker at all, because at that point there is no breath incoming or outgoing. The incoming breath has dissolved some distance earlier, and the outgoing breath starts, or it is felt some distance later. So be with this steady flame. It is lighting the innermost recesses of your heart. Removing any anxiety, any fear, any lack of connectedness. Feel the warm glow of this flame spread everywhere in this body as its gift of love. Rest in this awareness for some time. No karma ever touches this flame of awareness. It has the potential to set you free. Take a few deep breaths. Start becoming aware of the body, limb by limb. And when you are ready, you can gently open your eyes. So thank you very much, everyone, for this session. And thank you, Vatsala, for this wonderful question you asked. You know, sometimes when we ask the question, somebody asks the question, we find that, oh, this was my question too. So if you have any questions, please feel free to share, ask in the group. I'll try to answer them. And I thought that maybe since we are doing an intensive which is especially devoted to karma cleansing, it will be good to talk about karma. And my promise to give another session stands. So, good night for now. Let us end with this prayer. Om Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. I think I made a mistake. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya. Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya. Mrityarmamritam gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you and good night.